Yeah.
G'day, Ben from Melbourne here, and we're doing another one of those interviewing the vinyl community today. And now we've got Seattle's favourite son joining me today. He's into vinyl, cars, fixing shit, installing shit, recording. Well, I don't know. Yeah, he does record because he's got a bloody YouTube channel. Collecting records, automotive repair, vlogging, physical media, chickens, food, travel, a jack of all channels, as it says on his channels. It's Russ Shaw from Russ Shaw TV. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Ben. That's a great introduction. Yeah, I've just started kicking in some more of the chicken content. So
I've been loving the chicken content. I think the VC needs more of it, especially record storage around your chickens. It's like that stuff people need to know.
That's right. They'll have a unique smell when they go out into the wild someday.
That should be like the next step of like when people talk about cleaning records and storage, and it's like but have you got chickens?
That's right. It's the test, that
exactly.
My wife bought me a record cleaner, which is on that shelf right behind the chickens there. So we'll put that to the test, man.
That's where you keep it. Yeah. So anyway, if you're new to this, what this is I have the honor of having a member of the VC. The membership's pretty cheap, so get on board and join, and I might interview you as well. And they get 12 questions, 6 of which where they're allowed to prepare, and 6 where they're in the hot seat. And I award them points depending on if I think the answer is good enough. And like all good quiz shows, the points are meaningless, but it seems like they are meaningful to a lot of the Yanks. Vinyl Richie is very critical of how I hand out points. He's always in the comments saying that shouldn't have got a point or this should have got a point. So I'll leave it to you guys to fight about that in the comments. And it's funny, whenever I've done the other side of the pond, they don't seem to give a shit about the points. So, but if you've watched any UK quiz shows, like the ones with all the comedians, the points seem to be completely secondary. But what are you going to do?
Nice.
Right. I've rhubarbed on long enough. Let's get into this, Russ. Are you
all
ready?
Right. I'm ready. I'm set.
Excellent.
Excited. And being that you invited me on here, I finally solidified, I think, my membership in the VC. Like, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I was considered a member until Ben, tapped me on the shoulder there, and it's like, all right, I'm up in the big leagues now.
I didn't know that
feels
made
good.
It solid. Wow, jeez.
Right.
I'm just blagging my way through the whole thing. So yeah,
that's right.
Alrighty, question number 1. Justify your VC existence on YouTube. Why should we watch your channel? Well, we've covered one thing, chickens, and show a record that supports this.
All right. Well, I don't know how much it has to do with chickens, but for one thing, like, why should you watch the channel? There's a lot of reality TV in my country. There's some in Australia too. My wife's actually watched some Australian reality TV as well. And this is like that, except most reality TV involves rich people, showing off their cars and boats and lavish lifestyle. This channel is, for people who, like, if you've ever not paid your utility bill until you got the red one, right? This channel's for you. If you got sick of egg prices because of some bird flu thing going on, so you decide to get your own birds, it's an alternative. Maybe this channel's for you. If you don't mind a scratchy record from the dollar bin every so often, or more than so often, this channel's for you. So record to kind of talk about. This is I know Vinyl Richie showed that Ramones. This record, as far as Seattle's concerned, this is a Grunt Truck was a grunge band from back in the day. Not
Yes.
incredibly popular, but they were just amazing. This record is probably their best record. The band, the surviving members of the band signed it on Record Store Day, including Mr. Jack Dino right there, if I could get it on the camera. So that was an honor to meet that cat. And yeah, if anybody doesn't know Grunt Truck, like this is Seattle gold.
That's a grunge deep cut there. I love it.
Yeah, very, very deep cut, very metal. And there you go.
That's my era that I like, is that like late 80s era of the, before it exploded with bands like Tad and, well, I hope you notice, a whole lot of Mudhoney behind
Yes,
me.
I love the Mudhoney back there, right? That's right. Tommy,
they weren't.
What's that?
There was no accident they were there.
That's right. That's right. No doubt. That's part of the whole, Green River, before that. And amazing. But Tommy Nymar was in Grunt Truck as well. He was a metal guy in a band called The Accused, very back in the 80s. Yeah. They're still around. They're just, Tommy's not in the band anymore, but some of the other members are still touring. They still play shows around the city and stuff. I just saw a poster of theirs sitting in traffic the other day. It's like, oh, The Accused. They call it, instead of BC, it's like Beyond Tommy or something like that. Accused. After Tommy, that's what it is. AT, something like that.
Nice. Great answer. That truly deserves the point. Gave us
also had to upgrade my shirt game. I knew I was going to be on this, so I put this on because I love this shirt, and you always have the most fantastic shirts, so I'm trying to make the aesthetic kind of we got the records in the background, the killer shirts, You're
looking sharp, man. I don't want to make a huge stereotype judgment of the VC, but it's pretty easy to stand out when you wear a collar in the VC.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. A lot of music shirts. I've got closet fulls.
Well, I'm going to award you a point for that.
Nice.
Because that was an excellent answer and a grunge deep cut to boot, which we dig. Because most people, when they think about grunge, it's, great bands, but it's usually 3 or 4 bands that come to mind from, the explosion in 91. So good work. And although the answer was long, and I reckon you could have just said, unlike reality TV, my channel is awesome, and that's just a heap of shit. But, you go your way, I go mine.
That's right. Cool. Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Show a record that I like.
All right. So this is, I was kind of reaching on this one, but I think you might like it. You may not like the company that put it. This is Courtney Barnett from MTV Unplugged Melbourne. Which
nice.
I picked this up not too long ago. And speaking of Melbourne, and I've always wanted to ask somebody from there this, so because she has a song, and I love that the album with the chair on it. Was it Sometimes I Sit and Think, and Sometimes I Just Sit, I think is the name of it. That's a fantastic album. And this is, but the song DePreston. So Preston is a neighborhood in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, it's a suburb.
From what I understand.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's maybe a little not crime-ridden. I don't know. Like that kind of neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? Where you might...
It's funny because although that song is not that old, it's probably considered, with the way house prices have gone now, probably considered expensive, like the rest of the inner Melbourne suburbs. Like if you go
becoming gentrified.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of that shit going on. St Kilda, man. Although it is good as gentrified as St Kilda is, you can still go down there and have a junkie be like, "Hey mate, have you got a spare $1? I just need to make a phone call."
Right.
Which is cool. They can't gentrify that. I love that. But
I think we were talking about some of the. There's a she covers a song by Paul Kelly, written by Archie Roach, who was Aboriginal,
correct,
guy out there,
absolute legend. He's a great songwriter in his own right.
Amazing.
I really like that song, Depressed In, because it also has a little bit of that we're moving out of the city center, and she brings up like because of baristas and cafes and things, it's like all the go in a city sort of thing.
Right.
Side fact for you here, because I know Seattle is the headquarters of Starbucks.
Yeah.
Right. In Melbourne, we're one of the few cities who have not embraced Starbucks. You can find them, but it's usually in shopping centres in the suburbs. We are so snobby about our coffee.
Nice. I love it.
That we just, we prefer to go to a little barista place, cafe, and pay a fortune for a coffee instead.
There you go.
So that we can have one of those fancy ones that, make you need to shit Nelly straight away because they're so strong.
Right. All us locals are like that too. So, dyed in the wool Seattle people don't drink Starbucks.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's one on every corner. So there's that. Like if you want a cup of coffee that's halfway decent, you can go to Starbucks and get. But yeah, we tend to. I mean, I'll seek out. There's some great. I could talk about coffee for an hour.
So your Starbucks is kind of like Foster's for us.
Yeah, maybe Foster's.
Yeah, we don't drink it. Everybody else drinks it. Yeah.
I was an Uber driver in the city, and I drove a lot of people to the first Starbucks, which is at the Pike Place Market. And this one passenger, she's getting out of the car with her friends, and she looks at me and she goes, "I heard you guys don't like Starbucks or drink Starbucks. Are you locals?" And I go, "Yeah, that checks out."
Nice.
She gets out of the car, it's like shakes her head, gets in the big line, It's pretty wild.
Yeah,
look
at that. Well, that's a solid point there. I love Courtney. Seen her many times. Got all her records.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, great songwriter, and I like how, like Paul Kelly, who you mentioned, she's not scared to sing about her Australianness, which is really good because of a lot of times Australia has like a tall poppy syndrome, and we don't tend to sing about our own stuff. We look overseas a lot. But yeah, I love to hear that in Australian songwriters, and hearing our accents nice because a lot of people
I like
do
that
try
too.
and sing with either a more European or a more US accent.
It's sort of folk punk, right? But
that's
genres.
Definitely got the attitude, and she's
Avant Gardner is just so amazing.
You should check out actually Jen Clower if you like Courtney stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been around a little bit longer than Courtney. She was actually Courtney's partner for years as well. And,
wow.
And Courtney played rhythm guitar lead guitar, in her band as well. So you'd probably really like Jen Clower as well. So check her out.
Oh well,
man.
I will. Yeah, nice.
I better get moving along, or this is going to be like a 6 hour. It's going to be longer than than my Nick Cave interview with Alex from Beer and Vinyl, which I can't believe he let that roll for 2 hours. I'll have to check. There's probably been 11 people watch it. But anyway.
Nice.
Number three. What is the most unusual item that has been included with a record you own? It can be either a legit part of the package or something the previous owner left in there.
All right. So this is a prized possession of mine. My wife found this at a yard sale, I believe it is. This is Ozzy Osbourne's "Bark at the Moon," and it was checked out from the Seattle Public Library. It says it's right here, right? Seattle Public Library. It's got the little card, like when you get a book or something.
Yeah.
From back in the day, it's got the thing. This must be like, in 1980. It's stamped 1984, and nobody else ever checked it out. So whoever checked this out brought it home and kept it. And then I like the little digits on the bottom. That's like cutting edge technology for 1984.
Beautiful.
Library technology. This was from the big downtown library too, which is amazing. Wow. If you ever come to Seattle, when the .com boom happened, they basically raised a lot of tax money and built this huge, elaborate freaking library that, again, when I was driving Uber and Lyft in the city, architects it was like a tourist draw for architect nerds. It's just so weird and different shapes and stuff like that. So yeah, there's that. There was also similarly, I got this one recently. Talk about stuff stuck to the record. Radio Recordings Incorporated, and it has all these like people played the song. It's got times and dates scratched on it. This is also from like 1980, 81, something like that. So I don't know if this is
you think a DJ might have used that and put the length of the songs on there and things like that.
Yeah. It's like a promo. They also put little notes on it. On the front here, it shows, this one's a rocker and rock and roll, catchy lyrics on the right there. So that was kind of wild.
Wheel out a few cliches in the front. I like that.
Yeah. Badfinger. I like Badfinger.
Catchy rock and roll.
That's right. Yeah.
I feel like the library one is the best just because of the idea that they thought that they could buy an Ozzy Osbourne record and it wouldn't get stolen.
Right.
It's Ozzy. Of course his fans are going to steal it.
Right. The first cat too, is nobody else checked it out.
Yeah,
the only date stamped on there.
That was walking out the door with the first person who saw it, man. There's no way that was staying there. Oh, that's great. I love it. I love a library Ozzy record. It's probably the only time Ozzy's been in a library too.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, that is a solid point. You're on 3 for 3 so far.
I'm on a roll.
Killing it. So, question 4. What is the best performance on a traditionally non-rock instrument in a rock song?
It's funny that somebody brought up the AC/DC Long Way to the Top, because that's a perfect example of that, right?
Yes.
I heard it's the only time that on the Billboard charts, anyway, talk about the US charts here, that a song with bagpipes has ever charted since or before. Which I thought was
fantastic.
Really cool. So this is one that kind of reaching back, and I don't have the original record, but here's a best of. But Rod Stewart's Maggie May, the guitar on that is a mandolin, which a lot of people don't know. So you got mandolin through that whole song. Excellent freaking song.
And that's a long time before Losing My Religion too, who had the mandolin.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I don't have every picture tells the story of the record. I guess I might. There's a lot of unorganization here, so try to get a beat of what records I have and don't have. But searching for that.
When Rod rocked back in the day.
Yeah. Maggie May. I guess that song is also about
underage sex, I think.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like a female pedophile and young Rod Stewart, dealing with his emotions over all that.
There's that harsh line, something about like you in the light you really show your age or something like that.
Yeah.
I always thought, whoa, that's hard. But anyway, that's back in the day for you there. Rock and Rod definitely gets a point. It's hard to explain to the kids these days that Rod once rocked.
Yeah. He did a song. He's like 80 God, 80 or 81 or so, maybe older. I don't know. But he did a song at the Grammys, or what was that? American Music Awards or something like that. Dana and I watched recently. So I was like, wow, he's still up there dancing around, doing his thing.
Massive hair too.
Oh yeah. Still got the Rod haircut.
Incredible. All right. 4 for 4. I like that one. Now, this is a polarizing question, and it's starting to be, oh no, I've skipped ahead about 15 questions. God, I'm too excited. I feel like I've got a foot in Seattle at the moment.
Nice. Love it.
You know, so let's just dial it back a bit, just speaking for myself there, and ask the correct question. Number 5. Tell a story of the most unusual or funny thing that has happened at a gig you've attended or played.
Okay, so I told this story on my channel, but I don't know if I marked it properly. But this is my rat poison story, all right? Now,
just the start. Just for that, you're getting points.
Right? So my buddy Dave and I, my mom and dad, traditional American family, got divorced, and my mom and I move into apartments. We can't have cats or dogs. And first I got a gerbil and hamsters and stuff like that. They were horrible. And I saw they sold rats at the pet store, mainly to feed snakes and shit like that. Yeah. I get a pet rat, and they're smart, it grows pretty big, scares the crap out of people. I'm like, this is the perfect pet, So my buddy Dave, he also had a rat, and we were real stoners,
Yeah.
We're talking heavy duty, black belt stoners. And we would get our rats stoned, which is kind of fun. You put them in a little box and blow smoke in there. Anyway, so Dave and I had these rats, and Rat was coming to town, the band Rat. And we're like, oh, awesome. We got to bring our rats to the Rat show, right? So it was like February, or I can't remember, February, March, early. It was cold, outside. And Poison was the opening band, so it's Rat Poison.
Well, that was early in the day then, if they were opening.
It was like 86. And that was our first record, Poisons. And Rat was like, you see a band and bands party. So we watched them in Seattle, and Rat, we were big Rat fans, but it was horrible. It's hard to tell what song we were playing. We were just going up there, punching it in, calling it one in. But Poison was actually the better band that night. And I really didn't know about Poison's music till that night. But anyway, so we get through security with rats stuffed in. We had the biker jackets, that were pretty big in the day. And just stuck the rats in our pockets and came into the show. And we both had, we walk around with the rats on our shoulder, and people, whoa, So the show goes on a long time, and we're rocking the fuck out. So Dave loses some more during this night. Dave loses his rat, We're like, oh no. So we just, we continued to rock out. And I kept my rat. I kept sticking it in my pocket and stuff like that. Trying to not lose it. And the end of the show, we're looking around for Dave's rat. So the show's ended, and the security's walking around. Most people have left, and Dave and I are kind of looking around the corners and stuff. And this guy comes up and he goes, "Can I ask what you guys are doing?" And Dave's like, "Well, there's a lot of guitar picks on the ground." And I said, "Dude, look." And I pulled the rat out, put it on my shoulder. I said, "See this?" And the guy goes, "Whoa." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "There's another one around here somewhere." And the happy ending to that story is we actually found Dave's rat. Just walking, he was just sitting in the corner, just chewing on a piece of popcorn. And Dave went home with his rat, and everyone was happy, and security didn't lock us up or call animal control or anything. So
that's magnificent.
We were pretty excited. Yeah.
Bringing a rat to Rat. That is so good.
That's my rat poison story there for you. That's right.
And,
you got to bring the rat to the Rat show.
Oh, yeah. And I just want to let viewers know on behalf of the RSPCA that no animals were harmed in the filming of this episode of interviewing the vinyl community.
That's right. Oh, my rat's name was... oh, thanks, buddy. I have to tell you the rat's name. My rat's name was Yngwie Malmsteen, by the way. If you're
Of
familiar
course.
with the
Yes.
familiar with the guitarist.
And just
Yngwie was his name.
and easy to call for your rat too, because it's such a short name. Yeah.
That's right.
That's great. That's a definite point. You are 5 for 5, smashing
Nice.
it. All right, let's move along to the last of the bloody hell. You'd think I was on the beers. Pre-prepared questions. Number 7, or is it number 6? It's number 6. This is really getting out of control. Show your favorite music-related fruit or vegetable that's not a banana.
All right. So I know this has been mentioned before, but on your last episode here, I was like screaming at my TV, and it's that I got a whole bag of Cosmic Crisp apples. So
That is
and
so
there's
awesome.
right there's a story. There's a story about this because this apple was actually developed in Washington State by the University of I think it was Washington State University. And it was a big freaking deal around here because apples are our major, as far as fruits and vegetables and farmer stuff. Yeah. Export, like we export apples all over the world, and it was like a big deal all over the news. The Cosmic Crisp, it's like a Cosmic Brian, like I love Cosmic Brian, by the way, but our whole apple thing had me like freaking out.
I should have had you come in instead of Richie holding up the bag of Cosmic Crisps. Just like, here they are. They're a real thing.
That's right. They are, absolutely. It's a crossbreed. I guess it's the first time there's a new apple breed, and everybody's like freaking out. All the fruit geek people are like lining up outside the fruit store like it's record store day to get a Cosmic Crisp.
People on YouTube in the FC, the fruit community.
That's right, the FC. Hashtag fruit community.
Yes. Love it. Well, wasn't an actual record. but it was a throwback to an earlier episode, so
that's right.
Yeah. Richie will be upset with me in the comments, but I'm giving you a point for that because
nice.
You showed the actual Cosmic Crisps. That is beautiful.
That's right.
All right. Now the one I was talking about earlier, which is controversial, and it's made me talk about this dick way more than I ever planned.
Oh yeah.
And that's this question. Apologize for liking Van Morrison or celebrate your dislike of Van Morrison with me.
All right.
Join the good team.
So I've actually
one Van Morrison person which I enjoyed that they said they liked him and they actually apologized. No, everybody else is trying to avoid apologizing. It was fantastic.
That's pretty good. You persuaded him over to.
Yeah.
So my Van Morrison story was I was a teenager. I lived in Alaska. And I was kind of a troubled teen. So my mom decided I could live with my dad on a military base in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and there wasn't a lot of stores there. We didn't have a record store. We had the Navy Exchange. It was the only store on the island pretty much. It was like a Navy and Marines were there. And so I would get my allowance money and every Friday I'd go down to the record store and pick up a record. And it was sort of one of those times where it's like, and then I found this record and it was Van Morrison. I'd never heard of Van Morrison before. And I thought, well, I'm a Van Halen fan. Love Van Halen and the Doors. I mean, who doesn't love the Doors? And you got Jim Morrison. So this Van Morrison must be some kind of cool hybrid between the Doors and Van Halen. And how disappointed was I? It was like such a letdown and a bummer. Like, what the hell? I spent my hard-earned allowance money on this. I did dishes and and shoveled the walk and 5 feet of snow for this. And ever since then, I've just been, I don't know, it's like an emotional trauma story from my youth. And it was like Van Morrison. Like I just couldn't get into
I've never thought of it like that. It makes total sense. Van Halen, Jim Morrison. Yes.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it's got to be.
How can this not rock? And then you put it on and it sounds like a frog.
Yeah, it was a huge.
I had a great comment. In life. Oh man, I had a great comment because of like people always like, oh, but his voice, and I just don't hear it. And I said, it sounds like a frog singing to me. And then then this guy wrote back, which it was like touche. He was like, we'll take the frog out of your ears, man. And I was like, that was pretty good. But yeah, thanks for joining the team of negativity for Van Morrison. Because
there you go. That's right.
It's pretentious. He sounds like a frog. He scats. That's also against. And then he's turned out to be a complete wanker. And well, he always was. He seemed to be a pretty curmudgeonly, grumpy bastard to start with.
Yeah.
But I think because I heard them first, and they were like a rockin' little R&B, garagey sounding 60s band. And then I heard, and I thought, oh, the other stuff's solo's got to be good. And then it was all this like, it's a wonderful night, and I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Anyway,
I've tried, but I just can't.
Fantastic.
Do Van Morrison.
Excellent. We're growing in numbers. Van Morrison haters. Yes.
There you go. That's right.
All right. Now, this next one, number 8, is a bit of a scenario where, not really. I'll just blurt it out and tell me if this doesn't make sense. So, put these bands in order of legends, overrated, underrated, and one you have to wipe from the face of the earth. But when you think about the one you got to wipe from the face of the earth, that also means the consequences will be all the bands that they've influenced wouldn't exist either.
Okay.
So these are your bands. Tad, Mudhoney, Nirvana, and Mother Love Bone.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
It's the whole idea.
Because they're all pretty great bands.
Yes.
I mean, Nirvana, you got to throw Nirvana up there with. I could say they're overrated, but they influence so much music that you can't wipe them off the. So overrated, underrated. I think would be Tad. Tad's super underrated.
Agree.
Just because there was a book written. I forget the name of the book, but it was about the Seattle scene back at that time, and one of the VJs, I forget her name, didn't like Tad because he doesn't look like a pretty boy, he doesn't look like Kurt, or some of these guys, and Chris Cornell. So yeah, so they got brushed off by that scene, and I don't know, they've had a lot of bad luck too. So yeah, that would be my most underrated band.
Excellent.
Who do you brush off the face of the earth? Like that might be tough. I mean, if you got rid of Mother Love Bone, there wouldn't be Pearl Jam. But if I had to, let go. No, I like Pearl Jam. I don't like Pearl Jam as much as a lot of folks around here. There's some people really like Pearl Jam, and I'm not a completist. I don't have a lot of their records, to be honest. And so yeah, I guess I would be Mother Love Bone.
Locked in.
if I had to.
Okay, that's two.
Mudhoney. So what was the other one again? I'm trying to keep up here.
So we got Overrated and Legends.
Legends. Yeah, that would be Mudhoney. I think we'll go with Mudhoney for that. Just with Mark Arm's influence, and there's just Matt Lukin. It's amazing. Steve Turner wrote a book about.
I just read it. It's fantastic.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing guy. I was trying to get a hold of him for that would be cool to do an interview if he would sit down with me, but
that would be very cool.
That would be cool. There's a lot of folks, but yeah, it wouldn't be a Mudhoney. There wouldn't be Melvins. Melvins came from that. People could argue the Melvins were more from Aberdeen and out there on the coast. It's so weird that music came from the middle of nowhere, just about. You go out towards Aberdeen and Montesano out there. There's just not a lot going on. It's just little small towns, and Aberdeen is kind of a depressed town after the logging industry, took a big hit. But that's where some of the most beautiful music comes from, right? It's from pain. I don't know why us humans are like that. It's like the blues of the Northwest or something.
Yeah.
People without jobs.
It's like here. It's like here. Australia's just got ignored for so long that it just stopped taking notice of the rest of the world. And then especially like Perth, one of the most isolated cities in the world, and you get bands like the Scientists and the Triffids and the Victims and things like that come out of there, which would all lead to other bands like Hoodoo Gurus, and which they did all right in US college radio, I believe.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's sort of like you guys are the Seattle, as far as the US, like when bands would do US tours, like we're way up here in the corner. And so nobody really wanted to go to Seattle. So that's kind of another reason that music came from here. And we didn't have that weird sort of like you go to LA and there's either the punks or the metalheads and they fight or whatever. And here we just love all that shit,
Yeah.
And so it came together and created that sound, I believe. But even today, like there's a lot of bands that I like that aren't super popular, and they want to put enough gas in their vehicles to drive all the way to Seattle from, they got Portland too. It's just Portland and Seattle, and then San Francisco is quite a ways south, and it's like it's a drive, man. It's just punch to the budget if you're a touring band without a major label,
I can relate to that when I lived in Perth for a few years, because bands, when they were even international bands, would most likely just do the East Coast on the other side and maybe Adelaide. And then, and a lot of Australian bands, same thing. That's a big drive. And back, especially in the 90s, a flight to Perth was just like not even talked about if you were like playing in an indie or a punk band. And it's just like, that's
too far.
Yeah.
not too
cool.
bad.
So does that means Nirvana overrated in this world?
Yeah. I gotta say it. I love Nirvana, but there's a little.
But
there's some of that energy out there in the world. Just throwing that out there.
Well, it's meant to be tough, this one, because that's why I don't pick an obvious crap band, and so. I think it was Jack from the Vinyl Voyage. He had to pick a band he loved, Jesus and Mary Chain, as the overrated band, because I guess like Nirvana, they got all the hype initially,
right,
sort of thing, and it got completely out of control. So I completely understand that. I reckon that's a very solid standing. Like, yes, I'm probably with you on the Mother Love Bone one. That I have respect for all that side of it, but it's probably not as much my thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too. Not
8
necessary.
out of 8.
No, I won't go that far.
All right.
I like Pearl Jam, but we went to the Pearl Jam drop in the park in '92, and Dana and I registered to vote there, so that was neat. We saw there were so many bands, and it was free. It was They were
they do a lot
protesting
of good things.
Ticketmaster. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't come out here till '94, and I saw them then. And the crowd, nothing against Pearl Jam, but I think they were just burnt out by '94, and they kind of just stood there and played, and the crowd went bananas. Like Eddie could have just brought out his ukulele then, and people would have been going bananas. So
Nice.
Anyway, we can get moving on to the next question. Number 9. Now, tell us about the story how you established a good relationship with your local poultry veterinarian, which is also crucial for a happy and healthy flock.
Okay, this is a good one. So one of the cool things and a motivation to own chickens is that we have like state fairs here, and it's sort of a big deal, and people, big rides show up and bands show up and stuff like that. But just to get into the state fair can cost, like $30-$40 American just to get in the door to the fair. So if you have chickens, you're considered an exhibitionist. So you could take your chickens and they can win awards and stuff like that. I don't think I even knew initially that chickens could win awards. I thought it was just like a chicken show. You bring your chickens and they show them off, the different breeds and all that stuff. It was like a poultry science thing. And it's like, no, they come out with these, blue ribbon chicken. I was like, oh, wow. But it's like $3, to put your chicken in the show. And so you get, 4 or 5 chickens in there, and you spend $10 and you get the whole family gets free tickets to the fair. And as far as the veterinarian is concerned, they get a workup. So they have a vet there that looks over all the chickens and gives them, because it's kind of like taking your kid to daycare, right? Like you don't want some sick chicken coming in with a bunch of disease and polluting all the other chickens. So yeah, they get a thorough examination by like a poultry vet, not just any vet, but like a poultry freaking scientist.
That's why I specified poultry veterinarian.
Yeah, that's right. It's certified poultry approved. And this is when bird flu started. This was, almost 10 years ago when the whole bird flu thing started, and they were taking samples, and we did that too. So we put the chickens and they took like DNA samples back then. So, it's still a thing that we're kind of concerned about.
Yeah.
We wash our hands every time we touch the chickens. The kids touch the chickens. And once we put them outside, then they're exposed to, the other birds and stuff. And so it's still a thing. But yeah, I'm glad to see that you are interested in the importance of poultry veterinarianism.
Of course. You don't get that on other VC channels.
That's right. And by the way, the bird is the word. That song has been covered so many times, but the best version of that song is from the Trashmen. It's just amazing. It sort of combines 2 songs, really.
Yeah, that vocal is unhinged. I love it.
That's right. Mama Mau Mau, Mama Mau Mau. That's how they mix in with the bird is the word, and then it ends, and it's just off the. It was punk rock before.
Yeah,
punk rock.
Totally agree. It's just, and it's so early too.
Yeah.
That is an excellent answer. I might ask that to someone else and just see how they go next time. All right, we're up to number 10. Explain the lack of popularity for the harmonica in modern music.
Oh, the lack is, I think that. So here's my synopsis on this, is that music is becoming more and more controlled by machines now, like with the streaming channels. There's just so much drive towards what's popular and what needs to sell and what can keep. It used to be make money, right? Record companies want to make money and sell lots of copies. Now it's like, how can we keep people listening,
Yeah.
And so the major demographic, I'm gonna be 57 in a few days, and no one out there, as far as marketing, cares what I
He's
like.
gonna send you a card.
Right. So if you're like 18 to, I don't know, 30 or somewhere in that demographic, like, then they care. And I don't know if they know what a harmonica is. I mean, maybe there's got to be a few out there that have seen a harmonica, or heard one played. But my wife and I were just listening to, and I found this at a thrift shop. It's a blues covers of Rolling Stone songs by a bunch of different blues artists. It was done by House of Blues before they went.
It's like a full circle thing because of the Stones covered all the blues guys.
Exactly.
Blues guys covering Stones. That's cool.
Exactly. It's awesome. Yeah. And it's a lot of harmonica in that. And it's beautiful. A lot of gravelly old black dudes, Just,
yeah.
Want to be your beast of burden, stuff like that. Can't always get what you want. It's just amazing.
Cool.
I wonder if I was thinking about doing a live stream with it just to see if it would get shut down by the copyright people, because it's not hugely known blues artists doing covers. So
that's great. That sounds cool. You made me think straight away when you said blues. If there's that, you'd be able to find on YouTube that footage of Howlin' Wolf, and it's that it's the one where they're like, it's sort of a fake blues joint that they're in back, and it was done in the 60s, and I think Son House is there, and Booker White and people like that. As a side story, Son House gets completely drunk and starts heckling Howlin' Wolf, and Howlin' Wolf like points the finger, and Son House shuts up pretty quick because Howlin's a big boy.
That's right, yeah.
But anyway, he's playing harmonica and in one of the songs, and what I love is his hands are so big you can't even see the harmonica in his hands. And then he starts doing a bit of showmanship, and he's got the whole harmonica in his mouth, and he's like takes his hands away and he's just like playing it and grooving along without
without the cheater bar, right?
He doesn't have that. He just shoves it straight in his mouth.
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
I gotta find that.
It's really cool. And just seeing the back and forth between him and Son House, when he just shuts him down with like, well, that might have been your day, but this is my day now. It's just great. Anyway, great. That was an excellent answer. 10 for 10.
Nice.
Okay, number 11. Name 3 Australian bands that aren't Men at Work, In Excess, or AC/DC.
Oh, dude.
One of those bands I love.
All right. So I'm a student of your channel, and I'm again being honored to be on this because I watched so many of your videos, and you've turned me on to so much new music, and I'm kind of an ADHD fella, I get bored of things quick. So, the Colored Balls, that's just an awesome freaking band. I'm like, holy smokes. That punk and roll stuff that you share, Stepmother, was another great one. I was going to buy that record, and I saw it at the record store, and then I went back like the next day. It's like, no, I got to pick that up. And it was gone. I think I was going to ask about Courtney Barnett, another Courtney Barnett record at Silver Platters or somewhere, and it's now the tariff thing is, I don't know, it's horrible. But okay, so back to the question. Stepmother, of course, the Saints. Like, how can you forget the Saints, man? Like, that's another great freaking Australian band. Geez, now of course I'm getting stage fright. It's escaping me.
Well, you've already mentioned the Colored Balls, man. So.
The Colored Balls, yeah. Think of some of that. Route 66, that was another kind of sound. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think 66 was in the name. Kind of sound like the Sonics a little bit.
Yeah. They're kind of like a 90s garage revival band, but they're really good. Cool. Did it easy, and you named about 5 or 6. You just smashed it, and you named one which wasn't 20 years old with Stepmother. Beautiful work, beautiful work. Excellent. 11 for 11. The last question, and some say the hardest question, is our favourite. We've brought him up earlier, Mr. Vinyl Richie. In your best style, give me a hello, everybody.
All right, so I was kind of hoping to do this standing up because I think that would be the best way to do it. It's like it would stand up and I would just come in stage left with a, maybe try it.
Do what you got to do.
Hello, everybody. It's Vinyl Richie here. I love Vinyl Richie. He's great. Like and you like staying on brand, which I appreciate too.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a big brand guy, but when you're a punk guy that hates brands and you stay true to your character and how the show opens every time, like that's just, I mean, I love that. You're watching a Vinyl Richie show.
Excellent work. 12 for 12 in the regular round. You've got them all right. And now,
wow, geez, thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy. I'd like to thank Vinyl Richie for starting the VC.
The horses for a moment.
Oh no, wait. Oh,
this is lightning round. This is the one that sorts the wheat from the chaff. This is the bonus question.
Oh no, here we go.
Okay, strap in. What is the percentage of Australians that live on the coast?
The percentage of Australians that live on the coast.
Because if you know anything about this country, we all live on the edges. Yeah. There's very few people who live in the middle because it's all desert.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that live in Australia. I have another friend in Melbourne named Ben, Ben Wheeler, who defected to Australia from here. He's a teacher, does some of the stuff that our friend Sean Spence does. He's an educator, works with kids.
Sean on this.
Yeah. But he's this country doesn't give a crap about education. So he went to Australia, which I thought was pretty cool. He's from here in Seattle area too. So I'll tell him that he's on this. So I'm gonna say about 75%. Oh no.
Higher. 87%.
87%.
As of 2019, 87% of the population live on the coast.
On the coast. That makes sense.
Most of Australia's centre is composed of arid desert.
This I know. That's right. I've seen
all right
films. So
better wrap things up, or I will have a bloody embryonic Brian robot on my case again. He's got a thing about they're getting longer and longer. It's like, well, I think he's jealous because he was the first one, and I think his was the shortest. But he's a man of few words. What can I do?
That's right. I like Brian for that. He's very right to the point.
Yeah, it was a good interview. Everybody's different. Some people need more space.
There you go. That's right.
All right.
I could talk all day with you, man. Especially we could talk about coffee in Australia and punk rock. And
let's do this before it gets to 2 hours. I'll talk to you after this. Thank you so much for being part of it. I really appreciate it. It was really good fun. It's one of the great things about doing this is you meet people who you've watched a lot and you've had a bit of backwards and forwards in the comments. And it's really cool because you already have that base. So when you meet kind of in person like this, you like straight away get along really well, and really enjoyed it, Russ. It was really cool.
Yeah, me too, Ben. This is awesome.
I'll leave the great man's details below so you can check out his channel and subscribe, and then open another channel and subscribe to him again. So he gets 2 or more subscriptions. Been awesome, and we'll see you all in the next one.